Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we are going to start on JavaScript animation series. So in this series we are going to look at different libraries. We are going to look at different tools that we can use to achieve slick animations using JavaScript. Okay, so in today's video, particularly in this first episode, we are going to look at intersection observer. So in this video we are going to do an example where you can use an intersection observer to add scroll animations, or some people normally call them fade-in animations, as you scroll your website. And this is a very common interaction that people normally add onto their websites. So knowing how to do it, it can add on your skills as a front-end developer. So we are going to start by looking at what is an intersection observer. So intersection observer is a JavaScript API that allows you to efficiently observe changes in the intersection of the target element with its parent container or the viewport. And I won't repeat that, but basically intersection observer is a JavaScript API. Okay, it is one of JavaScript API that we normally use to observe changes in the DOM, or to observe changes on your website when one of the elements you are observing intersects the viewport. Okay, so it provides a way to detect when an element is visible or hidden in the viewport. That is very important to understand at this point. It provides a way to detect when an element is visible or hidden in the viewport, which is partially useful when you want to implement things like lazy loading of images, infinite scrolling. I think in future I'm going to make a video about these two: lazy loading of images and infinite scrolling, and even other performance optimizations. But in this video we are going to use it actually to do animate on scroll animations, whereby you scroll and then the element comes into the viewport. So how does it work behind the scenes? So intersection observer works by creating an observer object. That is a very important thing to note. It uses an observer object that you can use to observe one or more target elements. The observer object has a callback function that gets called whenever the target element intersects with the viewport or its parent container. The callback function receives a list of intersection observer entry objects which contain information about the intersection of each of the target element. So in other words, it creates it has this observer, and you're going to look at it in details in a minute. It has this observer object, and this object actually takes in, you will see that it actually has a callback function on it, and it uses this callback function whenever a target element intersects with the viewport. Okay, so as you are scrolling down, things will be hidden, but when that element comes into the viewport, it will tell us that now the element is in the viewport. Now we can do something to it when it is coming into the viewport. Okay, so the most important way is, how do we implement it? Okay, how do we implement it is why we are here in the first place. So let's jump in VS Code and we start this process. As you can see, the first step is actually to set up an element that you want to observe. Okay, So you have to set up the elements that you want to observe. But before we do that, let's start or initialize our project in VS Code. So I went and created a folder here in my folder of animation. So just animation series. I created intersection observer, and then I have 3 files, and I've opened it in VS Code. Okay, I have images here. Yeah, I have these images. I will put this project on GitHub so you can grab those images, but I got them from Anasplash, so you can just simply go and get them from Anasplash. We may or may not use them as such, but I just got them from Anasplash if you want to use them. So I have app.js, which is empty. I have index, which is also empty, with just a boilerplate, HTML boilerplate, and then I have CSS, which is also empty. So we are starting from scratch. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, I want to create some sections. So I will create 3 sections. Okay, so I'll create 3 sections. So in the first section, so let's say in the first section, this is a welcome section. Okay, so let me just say section. Okay, so in this one, I'm just going to put h2 here, and I will just say welcome to Ishab Coding School. Okay, so I will have that, and then down here I can put a p tag. Okay, and I can just say rorem maybe 30, and then down I can put a button. Okay, just put a button which says view our courses. Okay, so that is one section. So I'm just going to have sort of like 3 sections. So the second one is going to be maybe about us. Okay, I just say this is Rodem, and I can take off the button this time. Maybe here they just put another one here. Another button says download download maybe catalog. Okay, and then the third section here, let's see, maybe our courses, and I'm just going to leave volume, and then I will put here boxes. Okay, and inside the box I'm just going to have box dot box 1. Okay, these ones are going to represent the courses. Okay, they are going to represent the courses. Okay, so that is great. I think those 3 sections are enough for now. Okay, so let's go live, and I'm just going to go to here. I will put in localhost 5500. That one will be the localhost. So when it gets ready here, it will load. So as you're waiting for it, let's link our JavaScript and our CSS. So on top here, so you can see it has opened. Okay, so we have everything here. Okay, so let me go back this side. Let's link CSS and JavaScript. Okay, so in the header here, I'm just going to say link CSS. Okay, so this is going to link our CSS, and then I'm just going to go ahead and also link our JavaScript. Okay, so you can just go down here and say script source, let's say app.js. Okay, app.js, and don't forget to put differ. Okay, so this one differ is responsible for putting that script. It will put this script when everything has loaded in the DOM. Okay, so from there we have our HTML markup somehow done. Okay, we have our HTML markup somehow done. It is now to work on somehow on the CSS. Okay, so I'm just going to first work on the general CSS before we look into the steps. So first of all, let me first work on browser reset by resetting margin to 0, padding to 0, and box sizing. I'm just going to set it to border box. Okay, so next I'm just going to work on general styles. For instance, here this I want to set its height. Okay, I want to set its height first of all to 100 view height. Okay, and the second thing I want to do is this prefix. Okay, and align items. I want to put items in the center. I also want to put some padding on this. So let's say padding is top and bottom, maybe 5 rem, and on the side is 3 rem. And what else? I want to set color to white smoke maybe. What else? Flex direction. Since flex direction, let's make it column. Okay, so if we now check, okay, now let's go ahead and give it some background. So I'm just going to say section. Okay, I can use any child. Let's see how it goes. So the first one, we could set the first one to, let's say, background dark red, and we see if it works to the first one. Yep. And we can set the second one, the third one. So let's say this one, the second one, let's set it to dark blue. Okay, and the last one, let's set it to dark green. Okay, and let's see if this works. Oh yeah, only that we have how many sections? We have not changed this one, 3. Okay, so we have this first one, second one, and the third one. And basically what this one does, it selects section and it then looks for the first one and the second one, the third one, like that. So what I want is actually just to use my images here. So instead of saying I'm just going to use background. Okay, I can remove all these other ones. So I want to use linear gradient. Okay, and you can just try like any degrees you want here, and let's say I want to move from dark red, okay, to maybe to blue or to sky blue. So I'm just going to say to blue or to transparent. let's see that transparent. Okay, and then I'm just going to add an image. So put a comma here and you say URL, and then here I can put an images, and in images I want to use this first one. Okay, and then since we have a background image, we can put some things like background size, background, the most one is size, and we set it to cover, and the background position, position, let's say center. So want it to be centered vertically and horizontally, and we can also give it background repeat, let's say no repeat. And now I can just copy this, all these properties into here. So I will be changing only one property, which is this color here, and then the image. So here let me put the second image here. So let's say images 2. Okay, and in the third one we are just going to do the same thing here. Copy these and just simply put them here, and here you're going to use dark green. So this is dark green, and let's so change this image here. So we put the start image. Okay, you can put the third image. Okay, so now let's look at how everything looks like. Oh wow. Okay, so this is our website. Okay, so far now it doesn't look so much glorious, but it is going to work for now. Okay, so we have all this nice stuff. Okay, so now what we're just going to do is I'm just going to add some spaces here. Maybe I should use gap. Let's see here if I add some gap of maybe 2 rem. Okay, just to add some spaces between these items. Okay, so they look now okay, and I can quickly work on these buttons. So I can just go down here. So we haven't done anything to do with animations. So let me first work on the button. Let me give it some padding, top and bottom, maybe 1 rem, 3 rem, and then let me give border none. Let's give cursor pointer, and what else. So let's see now how it looks like. Okay, so this is how the buttons they look like. Okay, so we have the boxes. We can work on the boxes. So we have box. Okay, so let's give them width maybe of 300 pixels. Okay, and height of 200 pixels. Okay, and then background color, let's give them white. Okay, let's see now. Okay, they're here, and that is this is a box. So we just we target boxes, their container, and let's give it display flex, and let's give it also padding top and bottom 1 rem, on the side 0. Okay, let's see where they are. And let me first make this one background color of red so that you can see them where they are. Oh, they're here. Okay, they're here, and let me try to reduce here this. I think this one we can make the box, we can make it 100 pixels, and height, let's make it 50 pixels. Okay, so they look fine now. So maybe let's make this one 200, and let's make this one 100. Okay, just to increase them slightly in size. Okay, so now I can give gap here, gap to rem. Okay, so scroll. Okay, so you can see them there. So let me remove this red. So great. So now this is our website. Okay, so we have our website in like this. I can just change the font family for the whole entire website. Okay, you can just go and use Google Fonts, but I'm just going to see font family, and let me just use this first one, Korea. Okay, it will just change it to that. And you know what, let me just change this to consolas. Okay, and yeah, so this is our website. That is how quickly we can create the template. Now let's see, so assuming this is your finished website, you created your website, it has no any animations. Okay, this was to demonstrate that you can have a website which has no animations. I'm not going to work on responsive. Okay, today is not a responsive lecture. If you want to watch how to make responsive websites, just go and find that video, and then you can watch. It is there on my channel. Just look into SaaS and other things, you will find it. So today we want to focus on animations, how we can animate different things. Okay, so this is your finished website. It has no any animations. So step one, so let's go back to our slides. Step one is to set up the HTML of the elements that you want to observe. So for instance, we give them a class called animate on scroll. Okay, so we want to add to those items, we want them to scroll. When we animate, we are giving them this class animate on scroll. Okay, so I can just go here and I check on different things, most especially in this one. Okay, I want this heading, this one, and even this button to animate on scroll. Okay, so what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to go to my HTML in the second section. So this is section 1 here. On this one, I'm just going to give this one a class animate on scroll. Even this one, class animate on scroll, and even this button, give it animate on scroll. So sometimes you want others to animate, maybe it's sliding from the sides, others you want to come from top, so you can actually give another class. This one will be responsible for like the ones which would be maybe fading in from the sides. We can have another one where things are fading in from the top, like in this third section. In the third section, let me try to use another class. Okay, the one that will be maybe animating them from the top. So if you go here on these steps, we have this animate on scroll, which will be responsible for animating items from the sides. Okay, they will be sliding in from the sides. We can have another one like for instance animate top down, like just from the top, coming from top to down. Okay, so we can just also copy this one, and then we can add it here, like class animate top down. We could just give also all these ones to animate from top down. Okay, even these boxes, so each of these box I can give them this class, like so, animate. Okay, animate, and I can remove even this box one, but let's just leave it. Maybe we'll use it later. Okay, so I have set up my HTML. So that is the first step. I first give classes to all elements that I want to animate. Okay, I give them these different classes, like this one to animate top down, and then we have this one animate on scroll. Okay, that is the first step you do. Now in the second step, so step 2 is initially hide the elements in CSS. Okay, so all those elements, we don't want to see them when someone goes to the viewport. Okay, when you are here, we can just see only this first section. When someone scrolls here, he shouldn't see this text in the second section. It should be sliding in. So how do we hide it? So we hide it using CSS. Okay, so for instance, for animate on scroll, we can give if I just zoom in a minute here, you can see for animate on scroll, we are giving them opacity of 0. This one will hide them, and we're also transforming them, translating them -300 off the canvas, okay, or off the website. That means they will be hidden. And this translate, it takes in two values, the x and y. So the one we have specified is x, that means the y is on the left. Okay, and then we give them a transition, or in 4 seconds is out, and then we use transition delay. So transition delay means that it will take 0.2 seconds before this animation happens. That's what it means. 0.2 seconds before the animation happens. And you can see that for the ones on animate on scroll, they come from left, and then the ones animate top down, they come from the top, because we are changing the y. Okay, so after getting these two, I'm just going to drop these in CSS. Okay, I'm just going to drop these in CSS here. So down here, okay, drop in this one. Okay, just do like that. Okay, and let me just also drop in this animate top down. It is the same thing, but only changes the transformation. Okay, I'm just going to remove these spaces, save. Okay, so we have these ones. Now these ones are responsible for hiding them. If we go and you see that we don't have anything in our canvas. Okay, we have all these clean canvas, nothing is in the canvas. Okay, so we can now start animating these things here, okay, to come in. So how do we do that? So initially they were all hidden. These elements, they are hidden, so we'll be revealing them as we scroll down the page. Okay, so we have to create one class that is responsible to reveal them, and it's also done in CSS. Okay, so in JavaScript it will only help us to add this class or remove it as we animate or as we scroll. So animate class is just the class that is responsible for bringing back items to reveal them. Okay, so this is the animate class. So this animate, if you see here, it takes back the opacity, and it also takes back the transformation translate back to 0, 0. So if I give, for instance, if I give to what? If I went here and if I went here like this one, I give it animate. If I give it animate, just like that, you will see that it will be there. You can see that it has come here. Okay, so that's what we want. Animate on scroll, its purpose will be bring them, but we want to bring them on certain condition. We want only to bring them when we scroll into this item. Okay, so great. So now the CSS and HTML is set. That is all you need. You need this animate class or animate on scroll. It is essential hiding them. If you see here, that class animate on scroll essentially is hiding them using two properties, opacity and transformation. Okay, now we also have another class that is going to bring them back, okay, from the hiding or to reveal them, still using the two properties. So now in JavaScript, we can first test if JavaScript is working by just saying alert, and we can write like something it's working. As simple as that. When you go here, it is going to alert it's working. That means everything is fine. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to go back here and we follow our steps. Next, step 4 is select all elements you want to observe in JavaScript. Okay, so we can select all animation elements. That is the first step. The first step, select animation elements. So we use query selector. So animation elements is equal document.query selector all. See, we are using query selector all. Okay, query selector all works. It selects items the way CSS does. Okay, so for instance, if I wanted to select all items with animate on scroll, and you can see we are putting comma, we are also selecting animate top down. Okay, so you can animate top down. So it means that it's going to select all these elements and then even all these elements. Let's console log these items. I'm just going to say console.log and animation elements. Okay, so I just want to console.log animation elements. If we do that, it's going to give us a node list. So I'm just going to right click here. Okay, right click and go to right click and go here, and you see you have a node list of 8 items. You have the H2s. All these items are being watched. Okay, you can see we have the ones of top down. We have the ones top down that are all here. We have animate on scroll, they are also there. So we have a total of 8 items that are being watched. Okay, so that is great. We have all these items. That is one thing. So in JavaScript, the first step is selecting all the items that we want to watch. Okay, and you can see the technique we have used to select all of them at once. So great. Second one, so the 5th step, okay, is creating the observer. Okay, so create the observer object that will observe the elements. Okay, so the observer object actually looks like this. It takes in 2 parameters. Okay, so the first parameter is this function here up to here, and then takes in also the options, and in options you have threshold. Now sometimes writing this observer object in one line, some people don't understand it very well. I try to break it into now 2 steps, whereby you can create here observer is equal to new intersection observer, and it takes in 2 things. It takes in the callback function, and it also takes in let me first get here a pen. Okay, so it takes in 2 things, which is the callback function and the options. So we see we have the callback function here, okay, and then we have also the options, okay. So we have options and then we pass them here. This is same as like this one, but this one is everything is at once. You can see we have this callback function that stops here, okay, that stops here, and then comma, we have these options. But this one I try to break it down into this one so that you can understand it, okay. Okay, so let's just do this. So let's first write the callback and the function, okay. So we just come here and we say const, okay, observer. So the observer is got from, as we said, it's an API. We get them from initializing a new instance of the observer, new intersection observer, like that. And it takes in two parameters. It takes in the callback, okay, callback function, and it also takes in options, okay. It takes in options and the callback function. So on top here, I can define the callback, okay. So you can just say function, okay, let's name it callback, okay. And this function, it actually takes in entries, okay. It takes in entries, and on these entries, okay, it will iterate through these entries, and these entries, they are the objects or they are the elements that we are trying to observe. So it is going to observe these entries. So for each of the entry, so I'm just going to write here for each of these entries. So for each of the entry, for each of these entries, is going to ask if so is going to ask if entry dot, okay, if entry dot is intersecting, I think that is intersecting, okay. The only thing the callback function is helping us is just viewing an item if that item has come into the viewport or it is visible. That is this thing here is intersecting. And by the way, you can even call out, we can call out these entries and you look at them. If you can look at the entry, I will just console.log the entry here and you look at is, but it has on this entry, it has this thing called is intersecting. So if it is intersecting, you want to get that entry, okay, then you get the target entry.target dot class list, okay, entry dot class list dot add, and we want to add the animate class. So in other words, when it is intersecting, when it comes into the viewport, that's what it means. If the entry or if the item we are watching comes into the viewport, add this animate on class on it. That's what you are doing essentially. Else, so what if it doesn't want to remove this class? Okay, we just simply do the opposite here, dot remove. So here we remove this animate class, okay. So I hope so this is the function. I can cross check to make sure this is how the function is written, okay. So the callback function takes in the entries, okay, for each of the entry. So for each of the entry here, you can see entries for each of the entry. If the entry is intersecting, okay, we get that entry and we add animate class, else we remove that, okay. And then for the options, we only have threshold. I'm just going to explain about threshold in a minute. but for const options is equal to this is threshold threshold. I'm not sure if that is the spelling, and yes, set it to 0.5. So what threshold means, by default threshold is 0. Okay, if we don't set anything like any options here, by default is going to be 0. So what the threshold means is that when the item, when it is getting into the viewport, it has, like, at the beginning, do you want it to be at the top or in the middle or at the bottom? So 0, it means the item is on top, just entering. I can just demonstrate here. Let me just demonstrate. So on this line here, I think I can do this. Let me see. So on this, as you scroll in, let me just demonstrate. I'm just going to grab this one. So at this point here, on this line, sorry, let me just grab something maybe to highlight here. Okay, so on this line here, on top here, this is threshold equal to 0. Okay, then in the middle here, this is threshold equal to 0.5. As you move down, so when you move down, threshold at the bottom, threshold is 0. So at this point here, threshold here is equal to 0, and then when you move down here, threshold is equal to 0.5. Okay, so threshold is equal to 0.5, and at the bottom where the section ends, threshold is equal to 1. Okay, so the item, it will activate that function, or the callback function will be activated at 0.5. That means when the item is 50% in the viewport. Okay, great. So after having done that, so we have defined the threshold. I want to confirm if that is the spelling of threshold. Okay, just to confirm. Yep, that is the spelling of threshold. So now we pass in these two the options and the callback function. So we have here the function here, and we have the options here. So we pass them in here. Okay, we pass them in here, in the observer. So observer takes in those two items, the callback and the options. Okay, so moving on, the last thing that we do is now letting the observer observe the elements. Okay, that is the last one is letting the observer. Now what we are going to do is letting the observer observe those items. Okay, that is the last one. I would say, for instance, intersecting animation elements. These are the ones we are observing. Okay, we are observing animation elements. So just the animation elements dot for each. Okay, so dot for each. So for each of the elements, okay, so here we have, for each of the element, we are just going to say observer, okay, dot observe, okay, observe the element. I guess that is the only thing we have to do, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so that is the last step. Let me just copy this into our slider, into our slides. I guess we don't have that step. Okay, so here is paste this. Like so. and this is step 6. Let the observer to observe the elements. Okay, that is the last step. Now step number 6, observing the elements. Okay, so that is great. Let's move on. Let's see if we have any success so far. So I'm just going to go back on top, and okay, so now we are not having the animation. Let's try to see if everything is okay. Animation element here. Callback and options. So make sure this callback is here and options are there. Okay, so you can also just first also check in the console if we have for any errors. And a call type error entries for each is not a function. Okay, that is in the callback. Okay, is in the callback. So we have here the callback for each. I guess this for each here, is it? Let's just see. Seems there is no error right now. Okay, so let's try to scroll. Oh wow, yep. So you can see we have all our stuff happening like so. Okay, so if I go up, go down here, scroll, it comes in, even that one comes in. So for these ones, they are so coming in like that. Okay, so now for these two, this one and this one, I'm just going to give them the animate on scroll. So let me just go here. For these ones, I'd given this and this. Let's give them animation on the scroll. So we'll be having only the table, the boxes. So this one comes in, this one comes in, and this one comes in. So for these boxes here, so for these boxes, you can see they all come in at once. Okay, if I do this, and you see they are all coming in at once. Okay, we don't want them to come at once. Okay, want like one to come, another one, like try to stagger them. Okay, we are trying like to give them like this one to come at one, and at one some point, this one comes at some point, and this one then comes later. So we can't just do that one in CSS. Okay, so remember we have the boxes. So we could select like box 1, but if wanted we could use any child, but since we have them, you could say for instance box 1, maybe just do box 2. So for box 2 we can just say I think it is transition delay. Okay, so you just say about 0.4 seconds. Okay, we look about that if we need to edit that. And then this one will do something like 0.6. Just do 8 and we see what happens. Only that should be enough. So we just, this one slides in, this one slides. And by the way, you can also go ahead and delay this animation. Like if you feel like they are all coming in at the same time, the only thing we can do is actually adjusting the animation duration. So for these ones, we want to do like that. I don't like the way they are coming in here. I think transition is it transition delay? I guess it is transition delay. Let me first check here in the animate on scroll. So we have transition delay of, you see, we have a default of transition delay of 0.2 seconds. Okay, 0.2 seconds, and maybe we can hide them from the bottom. Let me just put that to be positive, and they see. So scroll, this one is animating, this one's animating. So oh, okay, so let me just go back here. Okay, they come later. Okay, okay, let's just give them maybe 200 or even 100. Okay, and the transition delay, maybe let me change it for each of these boxes. This one, make it 0.6 maybe. Oh, box 2, this is supposed to be box 3. Okay, box 3, this one comes in. Okay, that is great. Okay, can I use nth child in this case? Let me just go to dot box. Oh, they have to be down, I guess, because already there is animation delay of 0.2 seconds on all of them. So let's just try down now, putting these classes down, and we see how they behave. This one, and okay, that's it. Let's just try to use dot box, and I'm just going to use dot box. You could say we could use the ns child, and for instance for one, we want the animation transition delay to be 0.2 seconds, and this I think the default one. And then for all these other ones, so for the second one and the third one, let's try here, for instance, 0.4 seconds, and this one 0.6 seconds. I don't know why. So these ones, you cannot just change also the on these ones, and then like that, and yeah, that is cool. Have you seen that, guys? Look at that, it slides in like that. So yeah, so you can just delay using the technique is on this transition delay. Okay, you can just do the transition delay here for these different ones. Let me put 0.5 and let me put 0.7, and so that we see if it gives us a more nice effect. Wow. And you see, guys, when you just go up, it again goes in, slides in. This is really nice. Okay, so you can just work on these other sections, increasing the delay on these ones. Okay, you can increasing the delay on these those ones, so that they stagger very well. Okay, but that one marks the end of our tutorial. Thank you so much. So today we are looking at our first episode of trying to use intersection observer to put in this animate on scroll effect. I love it. You can use it in your projects, starting a video. You can even make them more smooth than this one. Okay, you can make them more smooth than this one by working with transitions and other animations. Okay, thank you so much. Like the video, please. Like, share, so that we can make more content. Thank you so much. See you in the next